Which is back.
Which never left.
Well, this is true.
I abandoned Which, and I owe them a public apology. I'll tell them why.
Yeah.
It has nothing. It's not you. It's me. I have aggressively been cutting calories, adjusting macros, just basically starving myself because I've been a big old fatty, and I have lost nearly 50 pounds in the last 3 months, and I have graduated from obese to overweight. And just this morning, on my little Renfo scale app, which is medically recognized across the board, I am now normal.
You're a normie.
Yeah, I celebrated with French dip at Which, unofficial sponsors.
That's right. And the people there say they're still listening, so they missed us, I'm sure, and our contributions to the till.
Now, you were there. Is this the first visit to Which?
Yeah, it is. I didn't know if you wanted me to jump in on that or
Please,
not.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, my first visit to Which, and I actually was listening to you talk about how healthy you are on the way over, and I ended up getting the Avo which is a sandwich basically, but with avocado on each end of it. So ham, turkey, bacon, cheese, and some nondescript sauce, and that was very good. And then the avocado. So yeah.
So, and you're smarter than me because I talked about being healthy and cutting carbs, and then I was like, "Give me bread and let me dip it in the juice that the beef made."
Exactly. He rubs off on me, and I go over there, and then I'm like, "I'm going to be healthy," and I watch him eat the steak, and I'm like, "What did I do here?"
But you didn't get the chips. You know what I mean? So I mean,
water instead of cola. Yeah.
The point is you can go out to eat, and you can not eat horribly badly. Obviously, you're going to eat better if you're cooking at home, but who has time for that? Especially when Which will do it for you.
And now Which delivers. I don't know if they delivered. But you can get DoorDash.
This is what happens with unsanctioned advertising, right?
Yep.
You are listening to The Soapbox. I'm Paul.
And I'm Eric.
This all started out with a list. What's that all about?
So I've compiled a list over the years of things that just bother me, things that grind my gears. And I shared that list with you.
And I thought, you know what? That would make interesting conversation. Sometimes I'm going to want to agree with you, and it's just going to be something we talk about. Other times, though, I'm going to want to steel man the opposite position because I think that's just interesting conversation.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I'm always right, but Paul's just a really good debater.
Hey.
Anyway, all right, another treat for everybody here. We've got an old friend of mine, new friend of Paul's.
Yep.
That goes back to intramural flag football.
Oh, yeah.
First of all,
I'm going to just take a moment and enjoy that you didn't say volleyball.
There you go.
It's a good point. That's a tasty which beverage. Yeah, I don't know why, but a bunch of us at KDC and a bunch of folks in
College of Communication and Information.
Yeah, and geography maybe too.
I think geography as well. Yep.
There were a bunch of ties together and connections, and someone was like, "Hey, we're in our mid-30s."
Oh yeah. When do you think that was? Like 2014, maybe? Is that right?
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah. So
yeah, maybe
late 30s. Yeah, mid to late 30s.
A range. And we thought it'd be a great idea to go play intramural sports with a bunch of college kids. They weren't good enough to play real football, but a lot more athletic than us.
Right.
We had maybe one ringer on the team.
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember his name now. Was he the geography guy? He was very fast.
Yeah.
Little small guy. Was he Ed? Does that ring a bell?
Something like that.
I feel like his name was Ed.
Yeah.
We'll just make it up.
There you go.
Or Eddard or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how we kind of got met. And then Tony, you met Tony and John Rippey and all those guys.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And
John Rippey was still around then.
He was there.
This is the deep history.
This was the old times.
Do you remember the tall guy whose glasses got smashed on the over the middle play? He doesn't live here anymore. I'm trying to remember his name. I was friends with him for a while on Facebook. I probably still am.
It was Ed.
It's not I want to say Getty. Is it Gary?
No. I don't know. All I know is we're playing this flag football season, okay? And I didn't even know any of these guys before we started. and my tie-in was Tommy and Troy to that group.
Yeah.
And so we're doing our best. We actually, I think, came close a couple of games. We may have won one or two, but we weren't like by any means doing great.
There's a photo of us at one. I think the best game we won. It was like
right.
I don't know.
18-0. But we were playing against like the fraternities and stuff like that, basically. So in shape, 18 to 22-year-olds, and one game. Oh, it was Grady.
Grady.
Oh my God, Grady. So poor Grady, like, is running across the middle, and they're trying to guard somebody, and it just, like, in slow motion happened where he collided, I think, with our own player or maybe one of their guys.
Rippy.
It was Rippy, straight on.
They both went to the hospital.
They got hit square in the head, and Grady had glasses on, and so his glasses shattered. And I remember, like, oh my God, I'm like, this is when you know you're too old to be playing sport. You shouldn't be out there.
This was, I think, our first game.
2 people go to the hospital.
Was that our first game?
2 people go to the hospital, and then one other person got pretty seriously injured.
Yeah, and you know, like, you lead with a flag football, and immediately I'm thinking like the middle school. Like,
oh yeah, no, it was intense.
And if I'm not mistaken, the reason the 2 collided was because whoever was on the other team got out of the way.
Right. I think that he ran, like, it was one of those situations where he ran straight up the middle, I think.
Yeah.
And they were trying to get him from the sides, and they just boom, right?
Yeah.
And sandwiched each other.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was the humanity there.
So this is the longest intro ever, 4 minutes in, and who is this guy?
And this is Dr. Anthony Limperos.
Oh, thank you. And yes, very good.
You're kind of a big deal in the communications department, maybe chair or something like that.
Kind of a big deal.
Maybe our 3rd department chair on the show.
Really?
Right? Yeah.
I mean, can you count Reg? He's not doing it anymore.
He was a former chair.
Yeah.
And then
once a chair, always a chair.
And then Dr. Bryson.
Yeah. So
we're good.
At least the 3rd.
We've got to make our rounds around the university.
I feel like we now have a mission just to catch every department chair from every department across the university.
Our department chair is very eager to be on here. They're probably like, God, I got to do something else besides being department chair.
Now they're going to see that you've been on here, and they're going to keep up with the Joneses.
Nice.
The Eds, I guess.
Very good. I love this reoccurring theme.
Oh, just wait to hear a siren.
Yeah. There you
go. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing professionally, and then we'll leave that all alone. And we'll get into the good stuff.
Okay. So I appreciate that introduction, and thank you guys for having me on here. I really love podcasts. Just to get that out of the way, I have my own podcast. It's something that's a hobby, but it's called The Mashup, and it's a podcast focused on bourbon. That's what I do for fun. But professionally, as you mentioned, I'm the chair of the Department of Communication here at the esteemed institution. That's what I call it. I'm so used to saying it on our podcast at UK. And prior to that, and overlapping for a couple of years, I was actually also the associate dean for the graduate program in communication, which is a college-wide program. Yeah. And so that's, during the summer, it's a lot of stuff that's preparations for the forthcoming year, right? Like, so just got an email this morning saying like, hey, we need more classes. We need more seats for incoming freshmen. And so working on that kind of stuff, things of that nature. I love summer administration because it's less hectic than the rest of the academic year, but sometimes there's a lull. So I'm happy to be recording a podcast with you guys today.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And if you are a fan of the mashup, I don't know if you heard in the background. It was very subtle, we did get a siren, so go ahead and take a shot.
Oh, yeah. Where's the whiskey?
That happened one time.
The esteemed institution frowns upon whiskey during work hours.
That's true.
But yeah, if you're playing along at home,
absolutely,
responsibly. But yeah, so the mashup, we'll have a big link to that in the description box.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely, yeah. But today we want to talk about something kind of unrelated to your professional work, maybe slightly related to your podcast,
right?
Because we had you over for a bourbon tasting, I don't know, a year ago, a couple years ago.
They only had me over the one time because I feel like I talk too much, and they were like, you're not coming back over at all.
We can't afford to hang with this guy.
This guy just,
he drank all the good stuff.
He had all the good bourbon there, but then he just talked too much, yeah.
No, we actually haven't had another one since.
Oh, man, okay.
Probably need to.
Yep.
So we want to kind of talk about collecting things, right?
Yep.
And maybe some of the...
Does this stem from your personal bourbon collection, or is there something else going on here?
So I don't know how to intro this because I want to get to know what you guys think about collecting in general. But I think the original impetus for thinking about this, especially because it's something like that kind of grinds your gears, is I've been a collector my entire life. I love collecting things, My parents had things that they collected, right? They don't have as much stuff anymore because they're trying to downsize now. But I married someone who's the exact opposite. My wife loves to throw things away, right? So in her eyes, when she sees some of my collections and things that I collect, sometimes she's fully behind it because they're things like shoes. That's one of the things I'll just throw out there. I love athletic sneakers, been obsessed with them since I was younger. But when I was young, my parents were like one pair, right? Yes. You get one pair of Air Force Ones or Jordans or whatever, and that's all you're getting for the entire year.
And it's hard to collect and wear.
Right, you can't, right? And so from a young age, I was always fascinated. It wasn't until I was making some real money that I could build that shoe collection. But see, my wife's okay with that. Other things that I collect, like action figures, she's like, these things just sit on a shelf. What are you doing? You know? And so she doesn't get it. Yeah. And then it came full circle because now my son is getting into collecting. And so now I'm seeing like the side of the hobby that I actually don't like a lot, which is the scalping side of it more.
Okay, I was going to ask.
Bourbon's tied in there too, but I mean, we could do all that if you want.
One of the thoughts that I had was, it was related to scalping, but I had written down here goodwill and price spikes. But I'm also thinking of like the Pokemon phenomenon. And let's parse those ones out. First of all, former video game collector sitting across from you.
Okay,
my collection was very much centered around Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Nintendo 64, GameCube.
Okay,
it was like a defined era that recaptured my childhood, made me feel nostalgia, and for a long time, these things were very accessible because there was a beautiful period of time where these were being thrown out by the shoebox. Everybody thought this was old, the graphics suck, get on board with the new thing. And so you could buy a lot that included some just phenomenal titles. And then you'd also get, Sesame Street 1, 2, 3, in the lot because they're getting rid of the whole collection.
Right.
But you could pay $20, $25 and get some amazing AAA titles.
Taking a shot.
Take a shot. The mashup people aren't going to handle this one well at all. You guys are going to have to listen twice.
I'm gonna start a tally because we had 0 take a shots on our last episode.
Yes,
and we're 2 already.
There you go.
9 minutes in.
Perfect.
But so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I remember I bought one title. It was called Earthbound.
Okay,
$6 I paid for it. And I bought it on clearance, new in the box. And today, if you had it new in the box, it would fetch over $1,000.
Wow, man!
But
so you said former video game collector.
Yes, I had a moment where I was in my basement where I kept my games. I didn't have them prominently displayed because I'm working on my house, and I went to bring that title Earthbound out, and I wanted to show my kids. Popped it in the Super Nintendo, found all the analog connections, hooked it up, turned it on, and I got a bunch of glitching on the screen.
Oh, goodness.
And when you think about the value of this one cartridge, I had a small panic attack, I think. I was like, well, what do you do? Like, am I going to have to send this off to somebody to reflow the board? Or
oh, man.
What do you do when entropy kicks in?
Yep.
And it turns out the Super Nintendo, which I could get for about $60, was what the problem was. The cartridge was fine. But I had a very prominent shift in my thinking.
Gotcha.
And that was, I'm not displaying it. I'm not using it. And my kids are probably going to destroy it. Right now it has value. And this also happened to be in the COVID season where people were spending a whole lot on their hobbies.
Boy, were they ever, man.
Yes, they were.
That was crazy.
So I made a decision. I thought, I can put this money towards my basement that I'm currently finishing. And I can let this collection go into the hands of somebody who's going to care for it more, appreciate it better, and maybe not let their kids destroy it. So I sold the whole thing part and parcel. And I took a loss on the value of the whole collection if I had just pieced it out and tried to sell it one by one. But I'd still be selling it today if I tried to do that because nobody wants Big Bird 1, 2, 3,
You got to throw those in like a 5-pack and sneak in the
right and just sort of boost the price a little bit to get my $2.30 back.
So I've got one to share. I'll hold off on because I kind of have a question maybe to both of you guys.
Sure.
I have apparently I played frisbee golf many years ago. And
you don't remember?
Apparently, I got hit playing flag football, and now my memory's not so good.
I love it.
Ed hit me really hard.
Was that his name?
That was it.
The apparently these discs are worth a fortune.
Oh, really?
And even like played with condition, like and my wife has a set of them too. And a buddy of mine saw them and was like, "Dude, you can't throw those." here, use mine. You know, this is an $8 disc.
Oh, you're talking about like an original set of
well, there's something about the plastic and the way they were made. They don't make them like that anymore, and people pay good money for these discs. And sure enough, if you get on eBay, you can see some of these discs selling for, you know, $50, $80, $100.
Wow.
But here's the problem. eBay doesn't work like it used to.
No.
I like the best way for me to make money on these would be to set it all up in a nice booth with really good lighting, clean them all, do all this stuff, and then at the end of the day, I maybe luckily get $300.
Yeah.
But I spent, you know, I'm going to spend
$300 on the booth.
just the time and because I have another box of things that I sit in a closet. It's Coheed and Cambria, which you gave me their CD when you worked at Best Buy. Yep. You got me hooked on them.
Started him on a good band.
Love the band. I got into like their comics because all the albums like followed along with a single story. And then they abandoned all that and dropped their drummer, and I got completely uninterested, but I kept everything. And apparently they're worth hundreds of dollars, but I've had it on eBay. Both of these things I've had listed on eBay for, you know, a year or better. And yeah, I've got watchers.
Yeah.
But nothing.
eBay is kind of a tough one because I've been doing eBay stuff since probably early 2000s, maybe 2003. I think I go back that far, but I probably only sold a total of 300 some items in all those years because I'm very selective about what I want to sell. Yeah. But I did notice like a lot of times where I'd take an offer on something, then I'd kick myself for it 2 months later. So now if I have something out there, I know the value of it, I just leave it out there.
Yeah. I
don't care if it takes 2 years to sell. The other day I got a message about a pair of shoes that I got priced $200 under the price tag of what they are. And the guy said, well, you take this much. And I'm like, they're already underpriced.
Yeah.
He's like, but the market's soft right now. I'm like, I get it. I'm like, and it's like a pair.
But I am not.
Yeah. I'm not. I always tell people I'm not in a hurry to get rid of these because, you know, I have them. I'm not like hard up for the money right now. Yeah. And I think they're like go for like maybe $900 or $1,000 on the StockX and those kind of websites. I'm listed for like $700. And he offered me $550, and I'm like,
he wants it half price.
I was like, I actually messaged him back the other day and said $600 to do it, and he was like, I'm still thinking about it. I'm like, okay. Well, that's fine with me. I'm not waiting because I mean, I am gonna wait. Sorry, I'm not waiting for him. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I think having the seasoned account helps for sure. I early on eBay. I don't know why I thought this was funny, but I realized that everybody could read whatever feedback you left people, and so I started leaving ridiculous feedback.
Oh no, you're one of those guys.
And it was stuff like somebody would say, "Oh, seller was very amazing," and I would reply, "Buyer was amazing too. Rolls over, lights cigarette."
So not bad reviews, but just
not bad reviews, but just cheeky, stupid stuff. Not realizing as a late teen, early 20-something that now I'm in my 40s and that's still publicly visible.
Right.
And maybe now I have a professional persona that I would like to maintain, but that can't be associated with my eBay account.
Yeah, don't put your eBay account on your LinkedIn profile then maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should work on my LinkedIn then. Is there any other like vestiges from my past? Should I not use my Pokemon themed original Hotmail address?
There you go. Perfect.
But yeah, I feel like eBay is broken unless you're patient, I guess. I've had these things listed for so long that I don't know.
Right.
I also think like the other thing with eBay that's problematic is that you have so much market saturation of people that are flipping things that it's kind of wrecked what it was intended to be. It was supposed to be like the international yard sale.
Yeah.
And you could go and get a good deal. But now I feel like a lot of things that you're shopping for, you could also just buy on Amazon for nearly the same price, but with a warranty and the ability to return it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's both the positive and the negative. Like I see both sides of this. When we think about eBay specifically, I mean, I don't know why everyone thinks all of a sudden because something's on eBay, it's either not real, maybe because of that saturation or the questions that I get now I wasn't getting before. But even if you have something that's of true value, you used to be able to like get people to get in a bidding war and they'd be like, oh man, I got $60 more. Now it's like, I do set prices on everything because I'm like, if I put this out here for this much money as like a top bid, people are going to try to lowball me by like $1,000 or $100 or $50 or $2. And so yeah, you're right. The promise of it has far changed what it's actually looking like now. So, yeah.
Now, do you feel like maybe other places have sort of taken over the function of eBay. I'm thinking Facebook Marketplace or other apps like Mercari.
Yep. Yeah. I use, as you guys know, since I'm a collector, I'm a self-proclaimed collector here. I've used some of those. Marketplace can be pretty fruitful, I think, for non-collectible items sometimes. And you got like local toy shops popping up. Like, I don't know if you know, here in Lexington, we have a place it was called Toy Vomit. I don't think it's called Toy Vomit anymore. I can't remember what their new name is, but that was their original name. They're up there in, what's the plaza called? Anyway, they're up here in south side Lexington going toward Nicholasville on one of the strip plazas back there. And they just have so much stuff. You can take boxes of toys and things in there and sell it to them too. Huh. And they give you a pretty fair dollar because they're dealing with this stuff like all the time. You know?
Is this in Zandale by chance?
It's not Zandale. It's farther up. It's where that, I'm terrible with road names.
Oh, it's all right. I'm terrible with directions. So welcome to the club.
It's like, exactly. It's the same one where the what was the party store that went out of business? Half Price Books is up there.
Oh, Party City.
Party City. Right in that plaza, whatever that plaza is called up there. They have a spot up there.
Bellanote.
Yeah, Bellanote's kind of up there. Yeah, that area.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever known what that was called. If you told me, I don't know how to recognize it.
Yeah, but if you I'm just saying,
I just think like that's where Shoe Carnival is.
Exactly, it's right next to Shoe Carnival. Actually, it's pretty new. Their spot there. They were on Southland Drive before that, but those kind of stores are popping up that provide some competition. Like independent sneaker stores are all over Lexington now. Or that wasn't like that when I moved here in 2011. Yeah. So there's a lot more outlets to sell. And a lot of the times with eBay's fee increases, right, you can sometimes do better if you just do local stuff like that, and Mercari and stuff like that. So
the fee increases are one of the two things that scared me away, and then their terrible breakup with PayPal.
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden it was like, you can't use this convenient option we used to own and kind of coerced you into using. Mm-hmm. And I fell out of love. The other thing, and I alluded to this before we started talking about eBay, was Goodwill. Have you ever searched any kind of like consignment for your collections?
I haven't. So I'm one of those people, if I really want something, I try to back myself off of like going, I have to have this now, because sometimes I know it's something that's not going to sell and I'll probably be able to get it 5 months down the road for cheaper. But when it comes to like thrifting and stuff like that, I have stopped in Goodwill a couple of times and looked for things, but I'm not dedicated enough to like go through garage sales and find that like one unicorn find that you see every so often, because I'm part of a lot of the hobby groups on Facebook. And so you're in there and you're looking and you're like, man, this guy just found like the ultra rare He-Man, the cat with the different paint job from 1980, whatever, for $10 at a garage sale. And you're like, man, that's $1,000 piece or whatever. That's never happened to me. So, but I haven't put the time in for that kind of stuff to happen.
So I know a guy, and maybe I'll segue into my kind of window in this world, which was buying Star Wars stuff for the kids.
Okay.
Which was secretly me.
Air quotes for the kids.
For the kids.
It's secretly me, like kind of like reminiscing and having that nostalgia for the things that I sold as a dumb kid.
Right.
When I was 14 or whatever, made a bunch of money. But I'd let all that go. If I'd have just threw it in a box and hung on it for 30 years, it would have,
Then again, Beanie Babies. So you don't know. You don't know
true.
30 years ago.
I remember that craze.
I feel like people had a good sense on the Star Wars stuff, because there's a lot of stuff in boxes. And but there's a guy in town. I'm not going to out his name here, but he basically has a contact at, I think, at most every Goodwill. Where if anyone brings in something that looks like Star Wars, they put it in a box off the side for this guy, and he comes in, and I don't know if he's tipping or what he's doing, but
I can't stand that. Actually, Goodwill in general, they are not in my good graces when it comes to their business operations anyway.
Okay.
For two reasons. One, they are also creeping on their price. If you go to a Goodwill, if they recognize a brand, if they recognize that something has value,
right, you're
not looking at a deal, you're looking at a discount off of retail, except it's used, it's dubious condition, it's just not good. Mm-hmm. But then also go look up the compensation structure of the Goodwill administrative staff, and their whole mission, vision, and values of giving employment to people, and their inventory is the crap that we give them for free.
Right.
How are they going to charge retail or near retail for a lot of their products?
So what you're saying is no.
let me get on my soapbox. I'm stealing your soapbox.
Right. No.
There is a flip side to it, and I'm sure it doesn't happen nearly as often. But I did go in once, and I bought a dinner murder mystery kit of the unused, like sealed, $1.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, these were, you could go to Joseph Beth at the time and pay $30, $40 for a brand new one of these. But so sometimes you get someone in there that just doesn't know what they have.
Or they don't care.
But they don't care. Could be too. Yeah.
That's the allure. It's like the treasure hunt, right? You don't know what you're going to find. Most of the time it's going to be rocks, but occasionally it'll be diamonds.
Right. And the other thing is, so like I got 2 quick stories real quick about shoe stuff. Okay. Because I mentioned the shoe thing at the beginning. I don't know how much I want to elaborate on my action figure stuff. Definitely bourbon, because that's, something I deal with pretty much on a daily basis or a weekly basis, just depending on when we record and stuff like that. But with shoes, it's crazy, like how this thing has evolved, because shoes went from like the highest of high, like maybe COVID is where it peaked out. And then there was a bunch of weird stuff that happened where people were getting like massive amounts of shoes before they were released, like from retailers that were connected to Nike and stuff like that, but it was like all underground stuff, and that all got broken up. Then there was a period of time where a bunch of stuff got stolen before it was even delivered to people, and that kind of hurt the hobby. A lot of crazy things, but the one thing I was going to say is there's a ton of fakes out there.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're going out to try to find now like the diamond in the rough shoe, like the other day on Marketplace, somebody had like a pair of Dunks that was a 1 in a million kind of pair of Dunks, and they were asking a pretty substantial amount of money. So I messaged and said, I'm interested. What's your bottom dollar on these? Classic lowball hobby guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm taking the task the people that I hate, and I'm doing the same thing, right? He responds back with, well, I'd take like 300. And these were listed for like 600. So I'm like, wait a minute.
That's pretty
I was
quick,
like, oh, okay. I'm like, well, I'll let you know if I'm interested. And I look closer, and I'm like, he's not advertising these as replicas. They looked great, but they're replicas of like a shoe that's supposed to be like $1,000.
Oh, okay.
So it makes it harder to search for stuff like that, because there's so many fakes out there, and you got to really know what you're doing if you're trying to like find a diamond in the rough. But the other thing I wanted to say is, you mentioned other sites, right? So Mercari, there's StockX, which is like a sneaker marketplace, and a bunch of other online retailers that will verify things as being authentic. Right. So we'll verify the shoes and we'll ship them on to the party. Well, as soon as this happened and these sneaker things became big and people were preferring those over eBay because eBay had no verification, eBay goes to verification. So I'm like, cool. So the second pair of shoes I ever shipped on eBay that's sold with verification, I package it up, I send it off, it goes to Los Angeles to this clearinghouse. They verify that they're authentic and they send them back. They send them to the end user. If they're not authentic, they send them back to you.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So the first pair I shipped like this, perfect, no problems. Second pair that I ship, says non-authentic. It's not authenticated. I'm like, I bought these shoes from, remember All Sports in the mall?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so All Sports was out of business at this point in time when I shipped these shoes, and I'd had them for a number of years. So I call eBay, and I'm like, what's going on? They're like, oh, sometimes it's just a matter of a serial number not matching up to your listing. And I'm like, okay, I could have made a typo. I get the box back. The big day comes. I actually have my wife record me because I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to find in this box. Yeah. Open the box, and it's like a pair of busted Under Armour Steph Curry shoes in the box. The authenticator stole the shoes.
Wow.
Whoa. Oh, it was crazy. I was on the phone with eBay for like an hour. They had me like elevated like from people overseas to like people here in the United States. And finally they're like, this one time we'll take care of it. I'm like, this one time? I'm like, I've been on eBay since 2003. I've never had a blemish against my record.
Yes.
And now these shoes get stolen in this new authentication process that you have. They were like a pair of Jordan 11s. Like the blue patent, blue leather and that. They're called like Win like 82, I believe. And those shoes got like, so some person stole my shoes in the authentication process. I was so angry, even though I got my money back and it didn't hurt the person because they got their money back as well. It just hurt eBay. I was so angry.
Yeah, because, how many times did that happen before that guy that's, stealing shoes is like, oh, yeah, let me tell my buddy down the street to do the same thing now.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. It's a perfect crime, right? Well, so I think eBay stepped up their cameras and stuff on those authentication places.
It's interesting, though, because you have to have an expert look at it.
Right.
And the expert is more than likely a collector.
So if they just had
kleptomaniac, apparently.
an inventory of replicas, they could be, cycling these things through.
Right.
So 3D printing, I think, has really hurt kind of the action figure world for authentic stuff.
Okay.
I know that's a big, what do they call it? A repo. Repro.
Yeah.
And so that's like, people will spot it, just looking at a picture. And they can pick it up and they can tell. I'm just like, for a lot of these, for the kids, my kids play them. I wouldn't care one bit. Right. Like, it's not on a shelf being displayed.
Take a shot.
Man, number 3.
There you go.
Hope you guys got lower proof for today.
They're out there saving lives.
Meanwhile, we're encouraging drinking.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, there's balance in the force.
So I've known people that'll like 3D print something to replace a missing part, just again for display purposes, or make it a different color to make it look like it's obvious.
Yeah,
I'm
sort
not
of the
passing
museum filler.
Yeah,
Right.
And I mean that's probably changed that world quite a bit.
It has, and I'm not a big in the box collector. That's another thing that people take me to task on.
New
But if
in
I
box,
mostly my collection is wrestling figures, big WWE guy, WWF, whatever you want to call it. So that's the bulk of my collection, and Marvel stuff.
So the fact that you made the distinction, I'll go to Marvel in a second and know more about that. But are you a collector from an era? Like, do you like it when it was WWF before it changed?
So it's kind of it's a dumb story, but indulge me here for a second. There were these little tiny figures back in the day. First, they started 3 eras that I would identify. The big rubber guys. Do you guys remember the big rubber wrestling figures? So the big rubber guys, I think we had Iron Sheik, Big John Studd, and Macho Man. Those were the 3, because we got to go to the store and each pick one when I was growing up.
Yep.
I don't remember which one was mine. I just know that those are long gone. The only one I still have is Iron Sheik. Surprisingly, came through all the way from my parents' house to mine now. The second wave of that was these little small Hasbro figures that were like Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan. They had a little scale ring. I had a group of those growing up, maybe, 15 to 20 figures in a little plastic ring, and I'd play with it nonstop.
Nice.
So I brought those with me all the way through. I've had them displayed in my office and everything like that. Well, I think it was right around the time my son was born. I had seen new wrestling figures in the aisles at, Walmart and stuff like that. I'm like, these are really detailed. They're really cool. And meanwhile, one of my really good buddies, he was into already collecting them. So I took my Hasbros and put them on eBay and sold them for 180 or $200 is for a lot, which was a good deal because they were still in pretty good shape, even though to play with. And I just started, that's when I launched, it's a more of a modern collection of wrestling figures. So it kind of went through the eras, but ended up there with the current ones in that particular way. So kind of trading up, if you will.
There's a similar arc that I had where I think my brother got me a Rancor for Christmas one year. And I didn't have kids yet, but he knew I liked Star Wars. I think he got me a Rancor and a Millennium Falcon.
Okay.
The vintage ones. And they were both of them played with condition, missing some pieces. But it didn't seem like there was a huge buzz around collecting stuff that wasn't new in box then.
Right.
And I was with you. I put them out on a shelf, and then when I had kids, Vivian adored that Rancor. One of her photos for go to the mall and take a photo. She's in a pretty dress. She brings Rancors, stuffed animal. So I did the same thing you did. I started looking at the shelves. The movies were coming out. This would be the sequel trilogy. And I would
trade it up for a Jar Jar.
Right.
Trade it up for a Jar Jar.
Right, there you go.
But I started getting some of the new stuff. Let the kids open the box and they play with them. And then after Christmas, I was going to eBay. I was getting some vintage stuff. But again, it was, let's get the broken one because they're going to play with it. They're going to lose the parts.
Right.
But secretly, I'm kind of in the back don't. Why don't you play with that one, that modern one right there? That one's modern. Use that one.
No, that character doesn't have a lightsaber. You don't want to switch them.
My son did go through a phase where he started taking stuff off the shelf, the display shelf, and playing with it. And after it happened a couple of times, I told my wife, I'm like, can you? She's like, they're toys, honey. They can play with them. And I'm like, oh, they're not toys.
You were living out the plot of the Lego movie.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, dang it, put that stuff down.
Yeah.
But I will say that I do like to just buy what I like. It's very rare that I'm ever going, okay, I need to get a case of this new Batman series figure because 10 years down the road, it's going to be worth money. Mm-hmm. The money stuff sometimes is a happy surprise.
Yeah.
When I looked at some of the wrestling figures and saw the big thing with wrestling figures, there's guys that have concussion lawsuits and other things against WWE. So naturally, they're not going to have a sanctioned figure.
Okay.
Because they may have had one at one time that came out 10 years ago, but now they're not under contract anymore, so their likeness can't be used. So those ones tend to be things that are what I call happy accidents. So you're like, oh, this Legion of Doom tag team that I love is worth $300 even out of the package. And you're like, wait a minute, what? These were $20 a piece.
Yep.
And so
get the Bret Hart and drop it from the top.
Sorry. No, it's not too soon.
He's from Calgary. I'm from Calgary.
Owen.
I'm allowed to say it. It's my people.
Yeah, it was your people, Owen.
Just a quick aside. How many?
It was Owen Hart. Yeah.
Yeah,
I forget.
that's still, but the Hart family. Yeah.
Do either of you guys have in your attic or in a closet somewhere like original iPhone boxes and iPad boxes, right?
Yes.
Why do we do that?
There was a time when if you had the box, the original packaging,
you sold it.
You sold it. You could sell it for more, right?
That's still true.
It's still true.
But it's only true
Sometimes, yeah.
in the sense that you have to have something worth collecting. Like if you've got the iPhone 8, nobody cares.
Yeah.
But if you've got the first iPhone that came out, that's the thing that people want. And they want to display it with the box because nobody's using it for its 3G capability and lack of apps.
Right. Yeah.
But they do want to say, hey, here's a piece of history. Like this is something worth holding on to in its completion.
Mine's because I'm like, I do have useless boxes. I wanted to purge one day where I was like, I'm throwing all these boxes away because I don't need any of them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why did we save the TV box? Because if it ever broke, we thought we could like somehow take the box and take it back,
Ship it back. Yeah.
That's like now I'm like, not going to happen.
Then you realize the TV's $300 and shipping's $200.
Right. Exactly.
Paul did inspire me not too long ago in the guest bedroom in the basement, in the closet. Now it's filled with a bunch of vintage Star Wars stuff.
Oh, really?
But what was in there were S-video cable. Remember S-video?
Oh, man.
A bunch of RCAs, a telephone, two pair wire.
RJ11.
Yeah, RJ11, coaxial cable. And this has got to go. And
he broke the man law and got rid of the box of cables. In fairness, he's friends with an IT guy who has a closet full of boxes of cables.
I have a box of cables on my garage rack, so I'm going to think about to have you over to look through it and see.
Just throw it all away. Yeah.
Chances are.
Here's my philosophy on cables, and I think this is
a good PSA.
TLDR for all people that hoard technology everywhere.
Please, yeah. So that's part of this.
Look through the cable box, see what you got. See, when's the last time you used it? And if it's been more than 3 or 4 years and there's nothing currently that you're using that uses those cables, consider what you would pay on Amazon to just replace any one that you might need. And consider the likelihood that you would need it that day.
Right.
And if it's an $8 cable on Amazon and you don't need it that day, let them store it for you until you need it and then go buy a new one.
And then you paid $8 for them to store it.
To store it ad nauseum.
9 years.
And then if you never needed it, you win.
I like this, Paul. I think that you and my wife would get along very well.
Well, I say that, and if you ask my wife in our relationship, she's the one that throws stuff away. I'm still the one that
You're still
hoards
the one that
stuff.
keeps
But
it, yeah.
I don't have the cable hoarding.
A Belkin router, home router from like 2000.
If it's not gigabit,
is probably not worth anything.
But so
why do I have that in a box?
Right.
I have that in a box somewhere.
Here's the funny thing. I have several pieces of equipment, wires, cables, routers that are for specific purposes. Like I have some dumb USB devices that don't need the 3.0.
Yes.
And they're just like charging the PlayStation 3 controller.
Some of these things get unexpected new life.
Yeah.
I've seen pushback against the smart home. Folks don't want Amazon controlling their devices. Right. There was a story that came out, and actually I use this in my class, where we talk about the idea of privacy and the concept of ownership, where a guy had a doorbell that had some pre-programmed things to say when people rang when he wasn't home. And a delivery driver who was wearing headphones at the time rang the doorbell, left the package, but the doorbell said something, and he misheard it as a racist statement against him.
Oh, good God.
And he reported it back to Amazon because he was an Amazon delivery driver. And without investigation, Amazon suspended the man's account, which included shutting off access to all of his smart home devices. So he couldn't use the Alexa, couldn't turn on the lights, couldn't set the security, couldn't use the doorbell. And then after a period of time, they investigated, they realized this man just made a mistake, falsely reported him for racism, and many questions came up. One of them being, even if he was racist in his own home, does he have the right to freedom of speech to be able to be a horrible guy and still own his own devices and be able to use them?
Right.
And two, where's the due process for somebody that's going to pay a penalty of not being able to use all these things if they become essential integrations into his home? So
that's heavy.
There's my rabbit trail, and now we'll take it full circle here. For your old school router,
right.
A lot of folks are setting up offline networks for their own Internet of Things within their home that's not connected to the internet.
Okay.
And you don't need high speed to turn on the lamp. Yeah. So the $6 router that you might get at Goodwill for $26 because they suck.
And our new sponsor.
Yeah, brought to you by Goodwill. Overpay every day.
I have another interesting use for the router. I have an old 2.4 gigahertz, probably
the same kind I have in the box.
Probably the same one.
Yeah.
They'll sell you it cheap. It's on his eBay account for like 2 years.
We have a digital mixer for the band that uses Wi-Fi to connect. If you take that thing to a club to play a show and you try to connect to their Wi-Fi,
which will be 5 gigahertz.
It doesn't even matter. It's going to be used by everyone in there. And if you're trying to use the iPad to do the mixing, you're going to have a bad time. It's going to drop. It's going to disconnect. So we basically set up our own Wi-Fi that doesn't have internet because you don't need the internet. So it's very similar to what you're saying. I think there is value in some of these things to just, I don't know. Again, you think about space and you think about, can I store this? Or because those are the kind of things you can't buy on Amazon probably very easily.
He's over there before the show like, I know the pieces fit.
And I already know what Paul's going to do in the background.
Editing, I'm going to put it, go ahead and get that copyright strike out of the way.
Oh, man. No, that's awesome. I mean, see, I didn't even think about any of that kind of stuff. And that's part of collecting too, if you think about it. Like, I keep things, and we all keep things because we think they have value.
Yeah.
Like, I don't just keep things to go like, oh, that pot that we've never planted a plant in since, whoever got it for us, that sat in the garage for 6 years, it's time to throw it away. Mm-hmm. Ask somebody if they want it, put it on the curb, offer it for free to somebody else who might want it.
Now,
but
have you ever had the experience though where you've just said, you know what, I'm gonna get rid of the thing, and then 2 weeks later you need it?
You need it. Yeah.
Oh, all the time. Yeah, that happens. That's happened many times. Like right now, the big thing in my house is whether or not we're gonna get rid of all these inflatable. We had when the kids were growing up, we'd always buy an inflatable pool. And especially during COVID, it's we want the kids to have a good time, hang out in the backyard or whatever. All that stuff got pulled out of the shed the other day, and it's sitting on top of the shed now. We're what are we going to do with it? I'm I'm half inclined to just clean it up and put it on the curb for free.
And then you're going to put on a party, and they're going to say,
you
know what? We should fill the inflatable pool with ice and then put beverages in.
That's exactly what I was going to say, though. It's always the kids. Even if you don't do the adult party, the kids will no, lo and behold, will get rid of something, and 2 weeks later, they're like, where's such and such at? I was going to play with that. You haven't played with that in 6 years.
Yep.
What are you talking about?
Here's the question to the group then. I have a tub that's relatively big, and it's filled with an Xbox 360, a couple versions of Rock Band, 2 guitars, and a drum kit, and a vocal mic.
Yeah.
The whole thing is basically, the only purpose is to load it up to play Rock Band. It takes up a ton of space. It's a pain to set up. I'm struggling with, do we get rid of it? Do we sell it?
They don't make Rock Band for current consoles.
Yeah.
So if you want that experience, you have to have it from the past.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of stuff sitting around, and mine was a Wii version. So what's happened with those is all the wires inside have degraded. So they don't even work properly anymore, but I still have them. Yeah. I don't know why. So I'm not going to tell you to get rid of them if I still have ones that don't work.
I think we're dancing around the conclusion of the show here, and that is this. We are now in the space where we are the parents throwing away the things that the kids wish they could hold on to.
Right.
And inadvertently, we are creating the next generation of collectors, because what's going to end up happening is they're going to miss the things that we thought were trash.
Right.
And then they're going to pay a premium on Mercari or eBay or whatever it is when they're an adult that's available to them.
Right.
So it's this weird sick cycle that we're creating and participating in at the same time.
We are. And I just want to tell you one more quick story. I love my stories, but this is actually, I know I've talked very lovingly about collecting, but the flip side of collecting is actually, oh no, is that again?
Do I hear 4?
Take a shot.
Oh my gosh, that's 4 shots.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Now call an Uber.
Yeah, right, exactly. The flip side of the collecting is the people that are just in it to make money.
Yes.
And so my son has taken a liking to Pokemon cards, right? When he started buying them, which was 3 or 4 years ago, we could walk into GameStop. I could get him my free pack for my GameStop membership.
Wait, you get a free pack?
Yeah, because if you don't use your $5 reward per month on anything else,
you lose it.
You lose it. And so if you actually, the way that the tax works out in the pro price, I think you just get it for free when they actually have them.
Oh, okay.
So we used to do that, occasionally get like an Elite Trainer box or something like that. And then I don't remember if it was about a year to a year and a half ago is when it really went bonkers again, where there was a lot of flipping going on. And we walked into GameStop, and it was the saddest thing because my son's like all excited. He's thinking, I got $30 to spend. bare shelves, nothing. And so I'm like, hey, what's going on? They're like, oh yeah, we haven't had anything new in a while. Like, and when we do get new stuff, like everyone comes in and buys it. Like it's gone in like less than a day. And I'm like, okay. So then I became the father who was like going into the different rabbit holes on the hobby side of it to find it. Meanwhile, I got friends that are adults that are the ones that are out there buying these boxes and stockpiling them.
Yeah.
I never really did
double
that.
Retail. Yeah.
Wear my shoes. I drink my bourbon. I don't play with my action figures, but I display them in places that I like to look at them. Right. And so I'm looking at that hobby and going like this, I collect, I like. And then I'm looking at the flip side of it. It's like all these people that are making money off Pokemon, they got every right to do it, just like they do with bourbon and everything else. Maybe not bourbon legally, but they do it anyway.
Like Blue Bottle or whatever.
Yeah. Like, I mean, but there's so many exchanges for it and stuff like that. But it's like, that's the part that I hate the most about it, right? So when I went to Target the other day, I saw a box that said no display. It was sitting next to where they put the Pokemon cards up. So I'm like, I've done it. I've hit the mother load right at the right time. I wait around for like a minute. I see the associate and I said, hey, by chance, are those Pokemon cards? She shoots me the dirtiest look and goes, no. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I go, I got an 8-year-old at home who really just wants like a box of Pokemon cards. Like I'm not a flipper or anything like that. And she's just like, oh, well, it's not Pokemon cards, number one. And like we tend to put them out on random days just because we want to prevent that stuff from happening. And I'm like, yeah, but 10 employees are telling people when to go there.
They are.
So it's like, even now I'm getting caught in the crossfire here as a collector going like, cause I never did that. I never hoarded things. I never bought like 15 of something just to have it in case it went up in price. Like, yes, my collecting and value wise is more of a happy accident kind of thing where I'm like, oh, great. This pair of shoes that I bought 2 years ago that I wear is now worth $1,000. Maybe I'll consider selling it, but that's a few and far between. I'm usually using the stuff that I get while I'm collecting it.
You did inspire me to make a change with something I was collecting.
What's that?
If you remember when we had the bourbon tasting, on my shelves, I had empty liquor bottles
everywhere.
And it was like, it became just kind of a neat thing.
The reason we brought you here is actually because this is an intervention.
Well, don't have to worry about that.
They're over like a 15-year period though.
Yeah. Sure. 15. Yeah. 15.
It seemed like it. Some of those are old enough to be 15.
No, you were telling me some of those bottles I know I paid $20-$30 for, and you're like, this today would be like $80, $90, $100.
Yeah, if it was still sealed and
but no, what
I heard this story indirectly. I didn't know this came from you.
Oh, okay.
I know exactly where he's going.
I'm hearing it right now.
So after we had that meet, one of the things you told me is people will take these bottles and they'll fill them with just
Heaven Hill or whatever.
Yeah, even just a brown liquid, whatever looks close, and they'll find ways to seal them back up and whatever, and then sell them. And I was like, me just having this in the world with like the potential for someone to do that, that's awful. So I had Tony come through and pick all the bottles he wants to turn into lamps.
Right.
Yeah, turn into lamps.
I trust Tony.
He's refilling them.
He's refilling them.
You've got an Arizona iced tea on your collection.
Bottles of bourbon off Tony.
I did have a Arizona iced tea and what's the Pelican Bay? There's a liquor that my in-laws made, the Arizona Bay mixture.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, yeah, I figure if Tony turns them into a lamp, no one's going to fill them.
Right.
Or if I recycle them, now granted, I don't know if someone at the recycling center is grabbing them, but
not.
I did chuck all of them except for maybe 5%, and they're like the Maker's Mark bottles that I liked, and a couple cool ones. My Oceans, I love my Jefferson's Oceans. And that's a neat collection to at least keep track of which voyages.
That's the one that's aged on a boat.
On a boat.
You doing that is great that you did, because just for anybody who might be listening to this and thinks they have an empty bottle collection like that, if you're going to ever not do anything with those and you're worried about them getting the wrong hands, just drill holes through the bottom of them.
Yeah.
Do something to alter them so they can't be repackaged and resold like that, because that happens quite a bit. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And really what you told me, just I was like, oh, I don't want to be, ugh.
Oh, it's the point where like there was two guys in town, one that I knew and his brother-in-law, for a conference, but knew the guy through the grad program. I said, come over, have a drink or whatever. And his brother-in-law was like, I love some of these empty bottles you have. He's like, could I have one of these? And I'm like, well, sure. And I looked at him and I'm like, but wait a minute. I go, you're not going to do anything weird with this, are you? And he's like, no, he's like, I honestly want it because it was a decanter style bottle. He's like, I just want it to put into a decanter. I said, okay. I go, but if this ever ends up anywhere, like I will literally kill you. And he was like, why are you so mad about this? And I'm like, because this happens a lot where people take these and take advantage of folks who kept bottles just because, and then they repackage them and it's no good for anybody. So, yeah.
Well, this has been the most interesting soapbox because
I thought we had like 9 hours left, though.
Oh well, this is the bathroom break before.
Yeah,
all those shots. Now I got to pee. No, just the notion that when you're talking to collectors, there is that undercurrent, that frustration, and I kind of expressed it with Goodwill spiking the prices. They do that, I think, in response to resellers.
Right.
But the reseller thing, it touches Pokemon cards, it touches action figures, it touches bourbon, it touches shoes. Like all these things have a legitimate fan base that just wants to appreciate it and use it. And then you've always got the capitalist that comes in and wants to just destroy the whole system.
Yeah, and I'd hate to say that the capitalist is always bad because I feel like it's always good for the hobby as well. Like now that shoes have cooled off a little bit, I see less innovation from Nike and like just rebranding of certain ways and shoes they've released the last 3 years and calling them reimagined and stuff like that, upping the production to try to take the middleman out. And now people don't care as much.
Yeah.
So everything has ebbs and flows to it. I mean, the same thing's happening with bourbon right now too. Like all the retailers have more control of their product. Right. All the distilleries have more control. They're making more of it. We're coming out of that COVID time where everybody was fanatical, just spending money on everything.
Yeah. Everything's aged for 3 to 5 years.
Right.
So,
and
it's hitting the market.
Yeah, it's changing the market a lot. But I mean, that's fine. That's good for people that actually enjoy drinking bourbon.
We've got a brand new website.
That is soapboxlex.com.
So you can check us out on the web. You can also check us out on your favorite streaming platforms, including
Spotify, we're on Apple, and we're on Amazon. And of course,
if you want to check us out and actually see what you're listening to, we do have video as well on YouTube. And I don't know if you knew this, but Spotify does video too.